I don't know about you, but I have been on a lot of diets. There are a lot of them out there to be sure. And let's be honest, we are all looking for that magic wand that will just melt the fat away. But have you looked around? From people walking around on the street to the shopping malls, it's safe to say we haven't found the magic diet. Comedian Bill Maher, on observing the difference between the 1970s and the present, said, "We look like a whole new species of people." Although it's true that the American waistline has expanded in the last few decades, as well as the health problems associated with all those extra lbs, the search for the perfect diet isn't new. Here are some of the stranger diets from the past. There was a diet in 1727 called avoiding the swamps diet. This was a genius invention of Thomas Short. In his essay, The Causes and Effects of Corpulence, he made the less than scientific observation that heavier people live near swamps. He opined that these people should just move and that would fix the belt overhang right up. I would love to see his data set on this one. And before you ask, this guy really was a doctor. In 1820, the vinegar diet came along. This tasty diet was practiced by the poet Lord Byron. He would drink vinegar and water, as well as a cup of tea mixed with raw egg daily. He claimed it was a method of cleansing his body. Some side effects were vomiting and diarrhea. So, was that the cleanse? Then there was the Great Masticator in 1903. San Francisco art dealer Horace Fletcher lost 40 pounds by chewing his food 32 times and not swallowing it. He would then spit it out. I guess this is a form of dietary wine tasting. Was he starving himself? Why no, silly, as he claimed that his mouth would absorb all the nutrients he needed. The moral of this? Don't take dieting advice from an art dealer. You just had to know there was going to be a cigarette diet. Yep, in 1925 the cigarette diet came right along. Oh Lord, imagine that. Cigarette companies pushing the appetite-suppressing properties of their smokes. What a shock. Lucky Strike had an advertisement that stated, "Light a Lucky and you'll never miss sweets that make you fat." Does this type of advertising from the cigarette companies surprise anyone? They were right about one thing, though. It is sugar that makes you fat. Soaping up never felt so good. In 1930, slimming soap was all the rage. Products like this actually existed. Really, no kidding. They were marketed under the names Fat Off, Fat Oh No, and Lamar Reducing Soap. All you had to do was soap up, then you would slim down. Not sure how many baths or showers you would have to take to see the results, or if it works on dogs. Believe it or not, slimming soap is actually sold on Amazon. 1954, the year of my birth, and the most disgusting diet on this list, the tapeworm diet. Okay, get ready. People actually started eating baby tapeworms so they could eat whatever they wanted. I guess if you don't mind a 25-foot long tapeworm in your gut, I mean, no pain, no gain, right? Unfortunately, tapeworms can cause seizures, meningitis, or dementia. In my humble opinion, if your solution is to eat a baby tapeworm, you might have a cognitive problem already. In the 1960s, we had the Sleeping Beauty diet. I don't think you had to be a beauty to use this diet. Basically, you don't eat when you go to sleep, right? So does that mean you drug yourself up so you can sleep for an extended period of time? But wait, how do I get all my steps in if I'm asleep? Do I have to sleepwalk? This diet was popularized by Elvis Presley. The moral of this? Don't take advice from musicians. In the 2000s, we were introduced to the Vision diet. A Japanese company, noting that fast food places used red and yellow as a method to stimulate the appetite of their customers, decided to use blue in their glasses. The theory was that the blue tint would act as an appetite suppressant, and you would not gaze so lovingly at that food, or scarf it down either. And all this time, I've just been wearing the wrong glasses. In the 2000s, there was also the cotton ball diet. Don't tell me you're not eating cotton balls on this diet, are you? Why, yes, you are. The theory goes if you fill up on cotton balls soaked in gelatin, you won't want to eat since you're so full. Yeah. Don't think that's the kind of fiber your MD was alluding to. Also in the 2000s, we have the SAD diet. This is the standard American diet. You know what I'm talking about, admit it. Burgers, fries, pizza, donuts, ice cream. When you get on the scale, you can see the reason it's called the SAD diet. It makes you really sad. Fast forward to the present. What's out there today? I decided to take a look at this feast of deliciousness so that you don't have to. Here is a list of the diets I'll be talking about. All have proponents and opponents. All have pros and cons. They are low fat, vegetarian, carnivore, Mediterranean, Atkins, keto, low carb, and paleo. The low-fat diet does what it says it does. It reduces the amount of fat in the diet. This is mostly a plant-based diet where you eat mostly plant foods and a moderate amount of lean, low-fat animal and dairy product, as well as whole grains and whole grain products. The pros of the diet. You lose weight on a low-fat diet because fat is calorically dense. Cutting the fat will reduce the amount of calories you're consuming. The cons. Since fat increases satiety, you tend to feel hungry on a low-fat diet. Unfortunately, many people buy low-fat products on these diets. The fat in these products has been replaced with sugar, which is not exactly a low-calorie product, nor is it particularly healthy. Remember SnackWells with 24 grams of carbs and 14 grams of added sugar? Why do these low-fat products add the sugar? Because without it, they would taste like cardboard. In 2015, the USDA lifted the limit on dietary fat, responding to two major clinical trials, Look Ahead and the Women's Initiative. I will link these studies in the description. The vegetarian diet eliminates meat, fish, and poultry. Unlike vegans, vegetarians eat eggs. The pros. If your vegetarian diet is healthy, it's less calorically dense than a diet that contains meat. It contains more bulk and is higher in fiber. The cons. You can eat junk food on a vegetarian diet, so stay out of the donuts. Supplementation is sometimes necessary. For example, B12 isn't found in plants, but in meat, fish, and poultry. It's found in a limited amount in milk and eggs. When I was on a vegetarian diet, I took a B12 supplement. I was always hungry too. In the carnivore diet, you eat meat, fish, poultry, and animal products for every meal. This diet aims for 0 carbs per day. Pros. Weight loss occurs because carb elimination reduces insulin spikes. The lower insulin levels result in weight loss. And let's face it, meat may be calorically dense, but are you more likely to overeat a sirloin or potatoes? Come on. The carnivore diet is more satiating since it contains more fat. Since carbs are eliminated, blood sugar tends to be better regulated, which is important for diabetics. Cons. It may be hard to stick to. Some doctors use it as a therapeutic diet, not intending it to be permanent for their patients. According to the website Diet Doctor, good research is lacking on this way of eating. Most evidence cited is anecdotal. One doctor that is a practitioner of carnivore is Dr. Ken Berry. When he was obese and suffering from prediabetes, he started low carb and then switched to carnivore, his reasoning being that it was the way our ancestors ate. However, on one of his videos, he was making guacamole with his wife. The last time I looked, an avocado was a plant, so maybe he shifted his diet. The Mediterranean diet is based on foods that people used to eat in countries bordering the Mediterranean Sea: Greece, Italy, Spain, Morocco, Egypt, and Lebanon. Then the United States started to export McDonald's to those poor people. On behalf of my country, I am so sorry. This diet encourages fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, and heart-healthy fats. Processed foods, added sugar, and refined grains should be restricted. The pros of the diet is it encourages a variety of nutrient-dense foods. A diet with a lot of variety may keep you interested and keep you from falling off the wagon. This diet is often recommended by doctors. The cons: if you're on this diet for brain health, prepare to be disappointed. A Healthline article published on October 25, 2021, made that claim. However, a Swedish study published in Science and Health on October 13, 2022 said not so fast, and this was a 20-year study. I will put a link to these studies in the description. There are also no specific guidelines to follow, and counting calories isn't a requirement. Uh-oh. It may be hard to follow, and guidance may be required. Also, the stuff I have read on this diet is may do this or may do that. Well, does it or doesn't it? Hey, I need some answers. The Atkins diet was developed in 1963 by Dr. Robert Atkins, a cardiologist. His first book, Dr. Atkins' Diet Revolution, was released in 1972, when most doctors were telling their patients to eat low fat. When he came out with his diet, a lot of people were less than pleased, to say the least. Many health professionals were convinced that this diet would cause heart attacks in those people that followed it. Dr. Atkins died from a fall when he slipped on an icy sidewalk and hit his head at the age of 72. He never died of a heart attack. The Atkins diet was a low-carbohydrate diet which put no restrictions on fat and proteins. Atkins himself always battled emotional eating. He's just like us, and found with this kind of diet he dropped weight. Unfortunately for him, his book was written in 1972, when the food pyramid was the holy grail and Ansel Keys was a god. Of course, now we know that low-carb diets work and why they work. The pros of this diet is that reducing carbs in the diet lowers insulin and regulates blood sugar. The high fat and protein in the diet results in less hunger and reduces the need to count calories. The cons are that it's hard to stick to. Studies have shown that most people regain the weight that they lost. Even Dr. Atkins was a yo-yo dieter. At the time of his death, his opponents were thrilled to find out that he weighed 272 pounds. It just goes to show you that you can understand the mechanism for weight loss and put a diet together, but the emotional component is just as important. The keto diet was developed by Dr. Russell Wilder at the Mayo Clinic as a treatment for epilepsy. This is a high-fat, moderate-protein, low-carb, about 20 grams diet. The purpose of the diet is to put the body in ketosis, forcing the body to become a fat burner. This occurs because the amount of carbs are so low that the liver converts fat into fatty acids and ketones. The ketones then replace glucose as an energy source. This elevated ketone level then shows up in the blood and urine, which signals that you're in ketosis. Keto diets are also used to treat children with epilepsy. The pros of the diet. The low level of carbohydrates in the diet lowers blood sugar as well as insulin. The lowering of insulin results in weight loss. For this reason, this diet is popular with diabetics who are trying to reduce or eliminate their medication. Cons. It can be hard to stick to. 20 grams of carbs is pretty low. For this reason, some people use it as a therapeutic diet, and once glucose, insulin, and weight loss goals are achieved, more carbohydrates are introduced into the diet. This does not mean donuts, however. The low-carb diet is a diet where carbs in your diet are reduced. This is the eating plan I follow as I'm trying to get off my diabetes meds. Generally, anything under 150 grams is considered low carb for a 2,000 calorie diet. I try to stay around 40 grams, but I don't eat 2,000 calories in a day either. I eat about half that. A low-carb diet is different than keto in that the carb levels aren't as low and the fat levels aren't as high. Low-carb diets eliminate processed foods and sugar, so low-fat salad dressings are eliminated and full-fat salad dressings are used. Please check those labels. An interesting side note is that in 1961 there was a diet called the Calories Don't Count diet. This diet, invented by Herman Thaler, MD, claimed that there was no need to count calories as long as you avoided carbs and ate foods high in fat and protein. He would have been a man ahead of his time if it weren't for the fact that he claimed that you had to take a pill he provided, then wash it down with safflower oil, which he claimed stimulated fat loss when acting on the pituitary gland. Turns out he had been using his book to promote a specific brand of oil, and in 1967 he was found guilty of mail fraud and conspiracy. Sometimes greed isn't good. The pros of the diet is that a low level of carbohydrates reduces blood sugar levels, keeping insulin low, resulting in weight loss. The amount of fat and protein results in satiety, reducing hunger. The cons: if you are a carb addict like me, as with the keto and carnivore plans, you may struggle. Like Dr. Atkins and his yo-yo dieting, I've fallen off the wagon myself. I just climb right back on. I keep track of my carbs, nutrients, and calories with an app called My Dietary. The Paleo diet is a diet based on foods that might have been eaten in the Paleolithic era. This diet is based on the discordance hypothesis, which postulates that the human body is mismatched genetically to the modern way of eating. This diet eliminates foods that became common 10,000 years ago, such as dairy products, legumes, potatoes, and grains. So what can you eat? Well, you can eat fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, lean meats such as grass-fed animals and wild game, fish that are rich in omega-3s such as salmon, mackerel, and albacore tuna. You can also eat oils from fruits and nuts such as olive oil. The pros to this diet are weight loss due to the elimination of processed foods and sugar. The cons of this diet are there are no long-term studies on the benefits and risks of the diet. Archaeologists have shown that early American diets included wild grains. Genetic research has shown dietary adaptation regarding breakdown of dietary starches. So what is the best diet? Well, maybe my college exercise physiology professor said it best when he asked, "What is the best exercise?" One that you'll do. Sorry, Dr. Bonner, I can't remember your first name. That might be the answer to what is the best eating plan. In my opinion, you need to find one that is sustainable and fits your particular situation. I can tell you one thing for sure. It's not a dozen donuts, and I'm sure not eating baby tapeworms. Do you have a favorite diet? Have you discovered the magic weight loss pill? If you've discovered that pill, don't tell anybody until you get your cut. If you have an eating plan that works for you, share it in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell.